let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're exploring how a highly stigmatized plant might actually hold the microscopic key to a massive global crisis. We're talking about industrial hemp, but definitely not the way you usually hear about it. We're zeroing in on its complex chemistry and how some really unique compounds hidden inside it could completely revolutionize the way we preserve the food we eat. To really grasp what's at stake here, look at the sheer scale of the problem. 1.3 billion tons. That is the amount of food wasted globally every single year. We are literally throwing away a third of all the food humanity produces, often just because it rots before it can make the trip from the farm to your plate. And ironically, as you'll see, our massive push for healthier, organic food is actually making this waste problem worse. Section 1. The Organic Paradox. Paying more for less time. Right now, we're basically forced to choose between two extremely flawed options. On one side, you have synthetic preservatives, like sodium benzoate. Now, they're incredibly effective, right? They keep food stable for months, but they are petroleum-based, they have a heavy carbon footprint, and honestly, they carry growing health concerns for consumers. On the flip side, we have organic food. It's healthier, it's definitely what the market wants, but without those heavy-duty chemicals, it turns to absolute slime in our fridges in just a few days. So we're paying a huge premium for organic, only to end up throwing a massive chunk of it straight into the trash. Section 2. Hemp terpenes. The unexpected hero. The secret here lies in a class of molecules called terpenes. Now, these are volatile organic compounds that plants synthesize specifically as a defense mechanism. If you've ever smelled a fresh pine forest or squeezed a lemon peel, you've smelled terpenes. And industrial hemp? It is an absolute factory for these things, pumping out over 200 different types. They act like this brilliant, entirely natural chemical army, perfectly designed to protect the plant from threats like fungi and bacteria. There's this fantastic quote from the research that really nails it. Terpenes are the chemical language of plants, a system of defense, communication, and survival shaped by millions of years of evolution. I mean, that perfectly illustrates what we're looking at here. We aren't inventing some brand new chemical in a lab. We're just finally figuring out how to harness this ancient evolutionary language to protect our own food supply. Section 3. The Microscopic Battle. How terpenes destroy pathogens. If you zoom way in with an electron microscope, you can watch this biological warfare happen in 4 distinct steps. First, the terpenes recognize the pathogen. Then specific terpenes, like beta-caryophyllene and myrcene, literally act like molecular nails piercing paper. Because they're highly lipophilic, they can easily penetrate the lipid layer of the bacterial membrane. Once they're inside, they launch an internal attack that completely halts protein synthesis. And finally, they trigger a total energy collapse within the cell. So the pathogen doesn't just get slowed down, it gets completely, physically, and chemically dismantled. But the really crucial takeaway here is that no single terpene does this on its own. It is all about teamwork. When these specific terpenes work together, scientists call this the entourage effect, it actually multiplies their defensive power by up to 1.5 times. So beta-caryophyllene breaches the wall, myrcene rushes in, and others like linalool attack the cell's internal machinery. Because the pathogen gets hit from 4 different angles at the exact same time, it is practically impossible for the bacteria to evolve any sort of resistance to it. Now, theory is great, but let's look at the hard data. This is from an experiment done on organic strawberries. The control group, the totally untreated fruit, grew mold in just 6 days. Strawberries treated with the standard synthetic chemical, sodium benzoate, lasted an impressive 22 days. But look right there at the bottom row. The strawberries protected solely by natural hemp terpenes lasted 21 days. They went toe-to-toe with heavy-duty synthetic chemicals, basically doubling or even tripling the natural shelf life of the organic fruit. Section 4, the weed elephant in the room, solving the sensory problem. Because I know exactly what you're probably thinking right now. It's a perfectly valid question. Is my organic strawberry gonna taste like cannabis? Because honestly, nobody wants their expensive organic spinach or fresh berries or baby carrots tasting and smelling like a joint. If the food tastes awful, the technology is completely useless, no matter how long it stays fresh in the fridge. Thankfully, cutting-edge science has completely solved this sensory issue, and they use a few brilliant methods to do it. They extract the terpenes using supercritical CO2, which is a really gentle, clean process that isolates the active compounds without using any toxic solvents. They can also use microencapsulation for a slow, controlled release, or a process called fractionation to completely strip out the smelliest compounds. But the real game changer is vapor phase application. They don't actually spray the terpenes onto your food. Instead, they introduce them into the air inside the packaging. It creates this protective, totally odorless gas cloud around the food. The terpenes do their job in the air, and the second you open the package, they evaporate in seconds. Your strawberry just tastes like a perfectly fresh strawberry.
Section 5. A future without food waste. The global impact.
So what actually happens when we scale this molecular shield out of the lab and into global supply chains? Well, the environmental impact is absolutely staggering. Look at that massive 82% figure. By replacing petroleum-based synthetics with natural hemp terpenes, which come from a rapidly renewable plant, we can achieve an 82% reduction in CO2 emissions for food preservation alone. And this perfectly illustrates the big picture we're looking at here. A true zero-waste circular economy. We can literally double the shelf life of healthy organic produce. We can slash global organic food waste by up to 25%. We transition completely away from petroleum-based chemicals to a solution that's 100% biodegradable with absolutely zero toxic residue. Plus, because farmers know their organic crops won't just rot in transit anymore, it drastically expands the economic viability of organic farming worldwide.
I want to leave you with this final thought as we wrap up our explainer today. We have spent decades stigmatizing hemp, completely ignoring its complex chemistry, while simultaneously pumping our food full of petroleum and throwing a billion tons of it in the trash every single year. If the solution to a global crisis of this magnitude was just hiding in plain sight inside a weed, what other natural evolutionary miracles are we currently completely overlooking? Definitely something to think about next time you throw out a moldy strawberry. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and stay curious.